There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes from being seen every day, but never actually recognized. Not by strangers, not by friends, not even by family. Just a lifetime of small moments telling you the person you are doesn't exist in a world around you. I've learned to live inside that silence. One of my earliest memories is play school. A doll's house in front of me, calm, focused, comfortable. And then a correction. Little boys don't play there. No shouting, no cruelty intended. But something important happened in that moment. I learned there were places I could not exist and places that I could. But I learned something in that moment. There were places I could exist and places I could not. And who I was belonged in the second category. That was the first invisible weight. Growing up wasn't discovery of identity. It was an education in concealment. You study people, you watch reactions, you calculate behavior. Not to manipulate, but to survive. I spent years wishing I could wake up different. Wishing the weight would disappear. Wishing I didn't have to constantly monitor how I stood, how I spoke, moved, or even existed. And of course, there were times I didn't want to exist at all. Because when the world rejects something, you cannot remove yourself. Because when the world rejects something you cannot remove from yourself, escape starts to feel like the only place left. Invisible burdens don't leave bruises, they leave exhaustion. So I made a decision early in life. No one will ever know. I carried it. I would carry it, protect it, and bury it. And that worked for a long time until 2005. Alcohol removed the filters I'd spent a lifetime constructing. And I started telling people who I was. I expected ridicule. I expected laughter. I expected to be swallowed whole. And sometimes that happened, but sometimes it didn't. Some people simply listened. And that was confusing because when you've lived your life hiding, acceptance almost feels suspicious. Of course, I trusted nearly everyone back then. I wanted to shout from the rooftops, probably because I needed someone, anyone, to finally say, I see you. Even though that burden hasn't completely left. I drive buses for a living. I make myself presentable. I style my hair. I take pride in how I look. Passengers step on. Morning, sir. Thank you, sir. Good day, sir. Every time a reminder. Not malicious, not intentional, but still a reminder that the world sees a role before it sees a person. And in that industry, already dominated by stereotypes, even women I know in the job face constant questioning about their place. So where exactly does someone like me stand? For a long time, I felt like doors were just closed. For a long time, it felt like doors weren't just closed. They were held shut. Like society had already decided where I belonged and kept pressing me back towards it. But I didn't belong there, and I never did. But I don't belong there. And I never did. The burden wasn't proof that I was wrong. The burden wasn't proof that I was wrong. It was proof that I was carrying something the world didn't understand. And there's a massive difference to that. And understanding that difference changes absolutely everything. Because the same weight that once silenced me is now the reason why I speak. The lesser journey of a road travelled exists because of it, not because the journey was easy, because it wasn't. Invisible burdens take many forms: identity, shame, addiction, trauma, grief. Most people you pass every day carrying something you will never see. And many of them have become experts at pretending they're not tired. If you're listening and you recognize yourself in this, the exhaustion isn't weakness. It's the cost of holding yourself together in a world that keeps trying to define you from the outside. For most of my life, silence was a protection. Now, honesty is. I'm not hiding anymore. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because I stopped agreeing with it. But because I stopped agreeing with it about who I was allowed to be. I deserve a life, and I'm building one. This is the lesser journey of a road travelled. The road walked quietly by more people than we realise. And if you're walking it too, you're not alone.